systems and SOPs. Oh, we got the recording. Uh, Putting some SOPs and stuff around that so that we were using that as another way to funnel our social online database to get it into our CRM. So I just went over the steps on that. And of course, there's a nice one pager that they have and all that other great stuff, but I can go into it as much as you'd like me to.
Yeah, I'd like to dig in a little bit more on that, though. Yeah, being on the main stage with all those eyeballs and all those lights on you, that's a big deal. Congratulations for getting invited. And again, thank you for just pouring back into our company. Like, I've learned so much. And that one pager that Jason created after your podcast, wow, it's incredible on what you're doing. Walk us through that just a little bit on what were some of the strategies that you shared in regards to your events and the social media stuff?
Yeah, so we realized that experiences do the best on the online giveaways, and we just put it out on our social media. At the beginning, you're probably not going to get a ton of results, but I've had some people do like them for the first time, and they've gotten like 50 responses back. Well, you think about what you do to get 50 responses or 50 people to raise your hand and opt to be in your database, and on that Google form that they fill out when they are doing the online giveaway to register for it, it's asking them if they have real estate needs. So not only are you getting their contact information, but you're also getting to see if they have any real estate needs, if they have any thoughts of selling, if they have any real estate referrals. And with that, probably the other thing that we've done that over the years, if we say yes, no, or maybe, the maybe is getting a lot of people clicking that one, which means that maybe that today they're not going to be ready to buy or sell real estate, but it gives you the open door to contact them in the future and figure out, where their motivation is, what their time frame is, and that you can do follow up. And so it's just a way to, again, to gather information, to get them through. We do a lot of events, and we realized that out of our events, we were serving our forever clients, our people that we know, and maybe they'd bring us a referral or two at those events. But it was really just to stay in connection with our forever clients. But the online people, because people like and share our online event with others, we're not only seeing our normal raving fans, but we're getting to touch their sphere of influence, their family, who are also signing up for these events and then allowing us to be able to service them. So anyhow, it's just a different way to do it. And when I was talking to Jason about it, he's like, "Can you please come and tell us more?" I'm like, "Okay, definitely can do that."
Yeah, I love the approach because it's not a hard sale approach. You're saying, do you have any needs? Yes, no, or maybe, or not sure, maybe not right now, but in the future. And you're gaining permission to start a conversation with them, obviously in a TCPA compliant manner.
Yes.
Right? You're gaining permission to communicate with those people that may not be in your direct sphere of influence network, though are seeing you socially and locally. Now, I have the luxury of coaching some of the top agents in the country, like 1,000+ transactions. And I hear this often around events and planning events and giveaways, the budget aspect of it. And you touched on that on stage around the things that you do aren't that expensive.
No, they're really not that expensive. So even like we have a little strawberry festival here in our town, and the tickets are like $40 for bracelets and to get them in and all that great stuff. Like if you get 4 tickets, that's like, I don't know, less than $200. It's not that expensive. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a Traeger barbecue. It doesn't have to be something of a lot of money. It can be something that is a small package that you're willing to give away. If you can find anything that's VIP or sold out or anything to that nature, of course, those are a little bit more coveted on there. But a lot of times it's like they came up with like a new rail car bike system in our town. And so we got some of the first tickets that were for that. So it not only it's great for our clients, but also great for that rail bike car system that they're putting in town that gave them exposure. People are like, "Oh my gosh, what is this? I'd love to do this." And so it's a win-win. And we don't ask for donations or anything because, I don't want discounts. I don't want them to ask me for discounts when they're using my services. I'm not going to ask them for discounts on their services. So we just buy the tickets and bless the community with different things. And it's a win-win for everyone involved.
Yeah. A lot of people have that limiting belief. It has to be a luxury item. It has to be very expensive and worth everything to everybody, a cruise or something. Like, no, it does not. Stay local, stay hyper-focused on your community, and people will respond.
Yes.
I love that. Aubrey, I want to come to you. What were the panels or panel that you that you were on. Give us a recap of that.
Yeah, so I really focus in networking at a very high level. 100% of my business comes via referrals. I also had done a podcast with Jason where we really sort of dove into sort of what that looks like. And at this point, about 55% of my referrals are coming from my networking partners. And so that's what we talked about. It was a great panel. We had a full house. I was really happy this year not to be speaking on the main stage like Laura. Because that is really nerve-wracking. I've done that before and it is scary. But she did great, by the way. But so what we were talking about really was what my involvement was from the beginning of real estate and how it looks like to be of service to other people, other businesses, without necessarily looking for business back for yourself. And so I really focused when I first started in real estate on business women in the service industry. And so I would have people come in for tea who were bookkeepers and accountants and painters and cleaners and whomever else, and just really sit down and find out about their business, who they were looking to connect with, how I could be of service to them. And that actually eventually became our directories, which are on my website. And I really focus on tagging and promoting and uplifting my service providers all the time, which is why I get so much business back from them. I created my own BNI chapter. For those of you who don't know, that's Business Networking International. And then in addition to that, because that can feel a little structured for some people. I love BNI, but I felt like I needed another outlet. So I created this group called WIN, which is Women in Networking. And we actually meet at Sunset Corridor. We have about now between 60 and 80 women show up every month of completely different categories, meeting, talking together, doing business with each other, all sort of this because of what I started doing in 2017 with meeting these people, and they're makeup artists and photographers, and they're cleaners, and they're roofers, and they're all sorts of different women in different categories, because we don't category restrict. We really feel like this idea of like a rising tide lifts all boats. So we don't compete, we just uplift. And as most of you probably have several different professionals in different categories, and I try to connect them with the right people and the right clients based on personality and location, what their needs are. But it culminates in something that we do called the gratitude dinner. And actually this year it's the gratitude brunch, because I'm getting old and I can't really do these dinners anymore. And my kids are like much more interested in the daytime events now. But really, we have 80 to 100 service providers. It's the one event that I do every year where I do not ask for any sponsorship. I don't ask for anything. This is really just me thanking my admin, my roofers, the cleaners, all of these people that have had anything to do with my transactions in the past year. All those people I'm tagging on Facebook, they're all together, and we feed them, and we have music, and the coolest thing is that we have catering and flowers and drinks, and these are all provided by my past clients. So the caterer is my past client, the florist is my past client, everybody, so that it really feels very community-based. And so the most wonderful thing about that event, and this is what I talked about on the panel, is it's not just the gratitude that I give to them, but it's watching all the connections between all of these people who are now working together. And it's really awesome. Emily Henderson, who's my in-house transaction coordinator, who's like amazing. She was getting married a few years ago, and she met my florist on retainer that I have, who always sends flowers when I have listings or whenever else we have something in need of flowers. And Emily hired Alana, my florist, because of meeting at that gratitude dinner. And these are the kind of connections that are happening all the time. So it's such a gift, I think, as a real estate agent, to be sort of the people that know everybody, but to see how much you can actually impact someone else's life, someone else's family, the food they put on the table. It's so powerful because it becomes something that's much greater than just me. And that was the entire panel in like 3 minutes.
I love that. And what I heard was get a florist on retainer.
Yeah, get a good one. She's great.
How many deals have you gotten from your florist alone? Do you know?
She's referred me 7, and she's also a past client of mine. I sold her house in Estacada. And she actually converted her garage in Estacada into a florist studio, like that was refrigerated, and she did something with the garage. It was definitely the coolest renovation I've seen.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Absolutely. They say your net worth is your network, right? And you're a shining star on that. You're a great example. Thank you for leading the charge. That's huge. The B&I community modeling is so powerful because these are your people. This is your team, right? And you might be a solo agent listening to this, and you don't have to have a team of agents and administrators and all these things to serve and build a really big business. Your team is there, ready to serve, ready to lift up your clients and, do everything the right way and grow your business.
I don't think there's really such a thing as a solo agent. No, I
Yeah.
don't think there really is. There's such a huge team of people working alongside us in different capacities and I really do consider the people in BNI and the people in Win and just everybody around me, they're all part of my team. And, the type of lead generation to do is the kind that you'll do. Like if the one that you like. And I like this. And I feel like I don't door knock well. I don't talk to people on the phone particularly well. There's a lot of things I do not do well, but I do this well and I focus on it on a high level. And every piece of my lead generation, every leg of my lead generation, all sort of comes back into this idea of database and also the networking.
Yeah. Yeah. To sell 100 homes in 1 year, the reality is you don't need to build a big lead gen model. You only need 25 people that refer you 4 people that do business every year, or 4 people, 1 person per quarter, said another way. So if you have 25 great relationships that are connector type of individuals, you too can go sell 100 plus homes a year with a high degree of ease and elegance and very little cash expenditure buying leads. You don't need Zillow. You just don't. Trust me. Yeah, you don't need it. Matthew, I want to come to you. Share with us what was your panel about, and give us a highlight reel on that.
Yeah, florist. Get a florist on retainer. I'm in 100%. I lost mine, so I'm on the hunt. But you're right on 100%.
It's my game.
It pays dividends. I'm all about that. My panel was realtor exit strategies. We talked about exit strategies for realtors, and we had some members on the panel that we had 2 that were actively buying and selling or transitioning their business, and then a couple of us that have bought businesses. And so the crowd was split, I think, pretty evenly. People looking at how do I monetize this business for the future, and then people that were actively figuring out how do I buy other people's businesses. So it's become a pillar of lead generation for me to find people who are leaving the business, and not necessarily just quitting or retiring, but moving or looking to scale back their involvement. And there's lots of ways to leave the business. And so we talked about some of those. We talked about pitfalls. We talked about wins, how to prep yourself. And really, to me, it comes down to what's your succession plan. I think Nike has a succession plan, and Intel has a succession plan, and Coca-Cola has a succession plan. And while those are giant conglomerate businesses, they're still really successful businesses. And why would we not model ourselves after them? I think I swear, I attribute it to Gary. I don't actually know if he said it or not, but in my mind, he did a couple of years ago on stage that the average successful realtor ends their business with a paid off house and a paid off mid-level Mercedes. And that to me is just so sad. Like, I mean, it's great you have a paid off house, congratulations, but we create millions of dollars of wealth for our clients. And most successful realtors, I think, walk away from the business without monetizing that wealth for themselves and helping other people. So it's become a passion of mine to try to figure out how to help people, and every situation is unique, how to monetize it for them, and how to make sure that their clients are taken care of, right? It's not just about the agents, it's about how are they making sure these relationships that they've developed for 20 years, 25 years are taken care of so they can retire or move or do whatever they want with confidence. And so it's a 3-way win, right? I mean, you've got a win for the agent that's leaving the business, a win for the agent that's taking on the business, and of course the clients underpinning all of that. So I think it's a really impactful business model for sure.
It's an incredible business model because, again, your database is the data bank, and acquiring agents' databases that are exiting the industry and creating a win-win situation where they can profit from your gains while serving their clientele when they choose to get out of the industry or leave the market territory that they were once in. And you've done such a phenomenal job. I mean, you've acquired an incredibly large book of business from a veteran real estate agent here in Portland, one of the founding members of Keller Williams Portland Central, because you do the right thing, you show up the right way, you have a high degree of integrity and authenticity in how you serve the real estate community. And they're like, yeah, I trust you with my people. But think about that as well. Like, we need to lead generate, right? Generate leads. Well, what if you just built your database overnight because you have an agent that stepped into this business and then decided that this isn't the right fit for them? Anybody know an agent that got in and immediately got back out?
Yeah.
We all do. The stats tell us that that's a real thing. Well, what if you had a partnership agreement with those individuals and you absorb their database, even though they chose to exit the industry? You can still create income for them and build your database.
What I've learned from this process is that there are times when agents can make more money and essentially, well, I'll call it referral status. There's more to it than that, but in a partnership agreement, they can actually make more money being in that phase of business than they do when they're actively in the business. Because if you partner with an agent who is holding events, doing follow-ups, right, providing value, continuing to market to a database in a way that a lot of agents taper off, they can find that you can actually make more than if you're actively working. And so it doesn't have to be a yeah, I go over that. I teach a CE course, so I go over that process. And then it's not just about connecting. There's other ways to lead a business too and monetize your business. It's not all about licensing agreements, right? There's expansion teams, right? There's ancillary businesses. There's lots of different ways to do this. And so I think it's important that, again, I'm not getting in front of people just trying, hey, how do I buy your business? Because it's got to be a good cultural fit for me and you and your clients. It's about finding what's the win and sharing pitfalls. And I've helped people that sat down, had coffee with them and said, you're buying your business essentially. Like, how can I help you to craft this so it makes sense for both of you and your clients? So it's yeah, again, it's like giving back to the community that's given so much to me. So
you're a steward of our culture. It's win-win or no deal.
no deal.
Right? 100%. Cameron, I want to come to you. Man, you have an incredible history in this industry. You went to the family reunion event. You got invited to speak on a panel. What was your panel, and what was kind of the core topic around that?
It was an interesting topic, actually, from my perspective, because I've worked with most categories or most categories within the larger category. So it's interesting to me that they tried to group them all together. But it was working with high net worth individuals, REITs, Fortune 500 companies, and family offices. And all of those are very, very different. REITs being real estate investment trusts, for those of you who don't know. And a family office is basically like a private wealth. It's a family that owns a bunch of assets. It could include, public, private, etc. And it's owned and managed actively, kind of like a private wealth fund. And ultra high net worth or high net worth individuals typically that get associated with family offices, and that is normally like 50 million and up by definition. And one of my big takeaways, or actually one of my points that I was trying to make, is that I feel like that's changing. I feel like the family office dynamic is moving to a smaller number, which maybe is contrary to what a lot of people would be thinking, with asset values and portfolios and family offices growing in value. I feel like basically when you're in like that $10 million market and up, there's this like middle market private capital world that is super strong. And with all the technology that exists today, and there are even multifamily offices, like families that come together and create offices. So there's ways I feel like that needle is moving to a much more accessible point. And one that, many of us in this room on this call have more access to than you think.
Wow. That's some big numbers you just threw out there. Right? How does that translate into your overall successes?
One of the points that I was trying to make on my panel is that I feel like successful people like to be treated like any normal person. So one of the common threads that I found through all those categories, even though all four of those are very, very different in terms of buyer profile, buyer process, client expectations, I mean, you name it, most of them are different. I feel like they all have had very high expectations, but also just want to be treated like a normal person. And I feel like that's something that I do well. Yeah, I don't really get starstruck by people.
I think that's a big aha. And if you're taking notes, I'd encourage you to write that down. We all put our pants on the same, right? We're all human beings. Yeah, Matthew, maybe debatable, but we're all human beings, right? And we all have our own, mental gymnastics that we go through, and we all go through, stuff. High net worth individuals may have a different degree of expectations, and they should. You should also have a high degree of expectation for yourself and your businesses. It will serve you longer, better, right? So I love that. And don't get starstruck. Don't get concerned that you're not where they are. They still need service, and they still are great human beings.
They expect a lot. It takes longer, I think, to build trust, but once you're able to get that trust, then I think you're in that scenario. And most of those categories, like especially family offices and high net worth individuals, have like development arms, and most of them don't say like, I exclusively use this realtor, right? They may have their favorites that they go to, but they'll never say like, I exclusively use a realtor. So you feel like every deal you're fighting for the next deal, right? Because at any point in time you could just get cut off, which happened to me and one of the Fortune 500 clients I was working for. My direct relationship, who I worked with and built relationship with over 6 years, was canned, and that my relationship with the company basically left after that. So
Never
it's
feels
tough.
good.
You learn a lot through the process.
Yeah, never feels good. And it's just a testament to you in your business that you have the opportunity to get canned from those organizations.
Well said.
Right? Put yourself
Yes.
in front of great opportunities. If it doesn't work out, what's the worst that happened? You're no longer working with them again. Like, okay, next.
Exactly.
So
And once you start working with a couple, and this applies to all four of those categories, it's a lot easier to get other clients in that same category.
I love it. Great job. Thank you. Laura, I want to come back to you. Many of us on the screen attended, and as you know, we had nearly 175 breakout sessions with nearly 500 people speaking at this event. So for those of you that don't know, Family Reunion is one of Keller Williams' large events that we host annually. It's always in February. Next year we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, which will be a lot of fun to get onto the East Coast, and not in Las Vegas. Thank you. Sorry for all you Las Vegas lovers. I'm not one of them. And we also host Mega Camp, which is in Austin, or usually in Austin, Texas, in August, although it's transitioned over to San Antonio. These are places where we all come to learn and grow, and we get to go down paths. Now, we want to hear from you, Laura, and everybody on the screen. What are you there to learn? What are the things that resonated with you? And let's just maybe go with our top 3 takeaways that you were like, man, I needed to hear that. Maybe it was on stage. Maybe it was you talking to yourself while teaching. Maybe it was from dinner with some colleagues that you haven't seen or met ever. Like, what were some of the big ahas that you had that you're like, I needed that?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say, like, since like 2010, like I haven't missed one family reunion, one mega camp. Like, and I'm gonna say just to keep going back, because every time you go back to family reunion, you're at a different spot in your business, and you're gonna get something that is now applicable that maybe you couldn't put in, it wasn't scalable earlier in your business. So I would definitely say keep coming back. And the things I picked up this time that I implemented quickly were small things, because what I've realized over the years, if you pick something major to do, and I have a couple major SOPs that we're putting into process, that they take time to get all that stuff inputted into your business and everything. And sometimes if you get too much, you come back, you do nothing. You just put your notes on the shelf, and you just get back into taking care of business, and you get back to your comfort zone, and you don't do nothing. And that's the worst case of not using your money well and getting the best ROI out of this. So there was a couple things I put right into place right away from the day one. And one was, I can't remember what speaker it was, but it said, if you wake up 90 minutes before your alarm clock goes off, get up. And she said, and I think it was a lady, so I don't know if it was Dr. Robbins or who it was on there, but she said
You were-
that, was that who that was? I can't
think so.
remember which one it was. Yeah. She said that that you go in sleep cycles. So if you wake up like an hour before and then you're like, oh, I can sleep for another hour and you go back to sleep. Well, when you wake up the first time, you wake up like ready to get up and get rolling because you have the energy, your body's just naturally ready to wake up. You go back to sleep and then you get into REM sleep and you get into the other thing and the alarm goes off and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I can barely get out of bed. Like you're just dragging the rest of the day. And so, so that was something that was small that I implemented right away. And I do feel my energy level is way better since I've done that. So if it's 90 minutes before, this morning I woke up and I was like, do I have more than 90 minutes? I do, I can go back to sleep. If I don't, I need to get up. So I thought that was one small thing we put into place. Another thing that Gary said on stage, that one of the things that the buyers are looking for when they're on their website searching for real estate, that they really want to know how to get in contact with you. And that sometimes our contact information is hidden, or fill out this form or do all this stuff before you get my contact. Like you don't have your phone number, your cell number on there. You don't have any information in there easily for them to contact you, and they'll bounce and they'll go somewhere else. So one of the things that came back and said, hey, to our marketing team, like, can you easily get our agents' phone numbers? Like, is it easy? Like, we need to make certain that our website is set up that it's easy, an easy button for them to get that. Another thing that he said was like 81% of the buyers and sellers hire the first person they talk to. So I want to make certain that we're not, hard to find, or that we are getting there. And then we need to change our SOPs a little bit in this. I know it's always been speed to lead, but hearing that, it's like, okay, we need to make certain that we have measurable items in place that I can double check to make certain nothing is falling through the cracks, that, that we're not having lead leakage with the team, that I need to put more accountability around it. Because yes, we all know it. And yes, we are going to do it. But does it always happen? I'm not 100% certain because I'm not tracking it. I'm not looking at it. So that was something else that was one of the longer things that you just can't like snap your fingers and that's done when you have a team. You got to be able to put written practices and accountability into place. And so we're working on that with our team. And then probably just one more item, since I had short ones, was the 9-to-1 rule. I think that Power of Moments talked about, and it said that like 80% of the time, most businesses spend their time like how to solve problems, and instead of spending time on how to create wow experiences. And so in our transaction, we have a couple of milestones and where we put some wow experiences in there. But what I'm realizing when I listened to him, it was like, oh yeah, we are really focused on fixing problems so they never happen again, which we definitely want to happen. But in reality, we really need to be looking at milestones and how we're going to wow the client along the way, because fixing the problem isn't necessarily going to wow the client, but doing something extraordinary along the way to wow them will. So anyhow, those were just a few items I had from this takeaways.
I love that. And I heard that same thing, that rule. And then Gary, in his top 100 group, where I had the luxury of seeing you, that was so much fun. In that private meeting, he reiterated a sentiment that it was a great reminder that a offensive call is 1 minute, a defensive call is 20 minutes. So bulletproof the transaction, get ahead, be proactive, and identify where those wow moments can happen, and also where the not so wow moments can happen, and get ahead of it by communicating. Here's what you can expect to experience if we get involved in a low appraisal or an extension delay or inspection challenges, you name it, right? Rocks are always there. Just how we gracefully go over them that's going to determine how much time and energy you spend on them. Yeah. I also love that Jason, in regards to that stat of 80% or 81% of sellers and buyers interview one agent for the job to sell their home. Jason stated that if that's the truth, which it is, the data polls prove it, and it's consistent year over year. It's one of the best things that the National Association of Realtors gives to us, is their profile of home buyers and sellers. Is that if that's true, then they're not interviewing. They're just validating that you are who you say you are and that you can help them achieve their goals. That's all they're doing, is validating it. So if you have any pressure or internal thinking like, I need to nail this interview, stop it. You're not being interviewed. Show up authentic, come from curiosity, and show them how you can serve them in achieving their goals. And statistically, 80% of the time, they're going to choose you. Yeah. Aubrey, coming to you next, my friend. What are some of the top takeaways that you had? Let's, try to identify 3 or so. That's good.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to be on a panel with Brady Stendal, who's the head of luxury for Keller Williams. And he said, get reviews before the end of the transaction. And I think I've probably heard it before, but it just resonated with me because he was sitting right next to me. And I was like, yep. Someone else had said, and actually, Laura, they might have been on your panel, but there was a gal who said, do your buyers classes, your sellers classes at the library. I've been doing buyers and sellers classes for 7 years. And I was like, oh gosh, what a no-brainer. It's like these little tidbits. It's exactly what Laura says, that you got to show up to these things, because I go also to all the mega camps and family reunions. We drive wherever they go, probably not to Atlanta, but in most of the other places we drive. And so we make a commitment to really go, and you really do learn something small, little, like, and I think it's going to change my classes by just taking them to the library, someplace that's like nonprofit and something where the library can like put it on the calendar for you. I was just like, that's just absolutely genius. I loved when, because really what I love about family reunion is I love that it always changes my mindset. And Jason said, like, we're like in the 3rd or 4th busiest real estate market in the history of real estate. Like, if you go into that mindset thinking that, like, how different is that for your business? I mean, like, oh, it's 2025. We've got like another 2 years of this. But like, 2024 was like it really was like the 4th best in history, and in volume, right? Because of course our average prices just keep going up and up, and just that mindset shift is such a shot of adrenaline to get you back when you come back to your business, and you're like, switch that thinking of like everything sucks to like, oh my gosh, like everything is great. So I loved that. And to be honest with you, I love everything about the vision speech. I'm a geek. I wrote down so many notes. I always write down the notes. I'm like this. And Gary's always like, we're going to send out the slides. And I'm like, I don't care. And I just write it all down because I really absorb it when they're Jay and Jason and Ruben, when he's there, when they're talking. And I think that the numbers are really fascinating, and it really just puts everything in context, even if not statewide or regionally, like for the country. And I like to hear about Canada, what's going on up there. And yeah, he talked about all sorts of new stuff in the vision speech this time too, right? It's talking about tariffs and what is a tariff? Like it was great, just kind of going back to just kind of the basics. But I'll tell you the thing that I love the most about this time was Gary really switched gears when he was talking about the 10 bold laws, right? Like he's not like the warm and fuzzy. He's like the vision speech guy. Mo and Jay are kind of the fuzzies. He came out all fuzzy about like the things that were really important. And I thought it was really touching. And what he said is that really all we need is love. And to me, when you're talking about real estate, what it goes back to is that's building relationships. That's being less transactional and more relationship based. That's what he's talking about. Like, of course, love for your family and for your friends, but love for your community. Love through KW Cares, like love on your clients, on your families. This is a tough time for a lot of people right now. There's a lot of transition and weird stuff that's been going on. This is when you have to pour into the people around you that you love. And I thought, coming from Gary, that was really like a nice shift. It really was.
I agree. Gary didn't say it this time, though he said it in the past several times, that love is spelled Time. If you want to have love for something or somebody, you have to spend time with it or them. Otherwise, you're not going to build or form a relationship or a true love with it. And I also love that you talked about the economics. I think we're all kind of geeks in our own way. And what's really important to understand is that numbers are the language of business. And people like doing business with business people. And too many of us in this industry choose to negate numbers and rely on our relational ability to transfer our professionalism. And I would really encourage you to ensure that you speak numbers in your conversation as you're developing relationships to set the tone that you are a professional and you understand trends and historical averages and what they're most likely going to see happen moving forward when they choose to hire you or refer you to their friends and family. You're the best of the best. And the vast majority of agents are not utilizing numbers in their dialogues to gain relationships in a professional speaking manner?
This is actually what Laura was just talking about, and what you were speaking with her about, but I always go into appointments, that 81, 82%, and I just assume that this is just to figure out the details. Like, I just assume I have the job, and I just act like that, and I come prepared. I've got my cloud CMA and I've got all the data and all of that, but I just come assuming that we're just going to figure out the details now. But like, that's what the buyer's consultation, like, that's why we're here, because you're obviously going to use me. And this is why I'm at a listing appointment. It's arrogant, but it's fruitful.
It's effective. Yeah, I wouldn't call it arrogant. It's a good assumption to make, because the data shows us that you're right 80% of the time. And is it fair to say that I get 100% of my clients to use me? No, just like Cameron, like, we can't win them all, right? If you are winning them all, you're probably leaving opportunities on the table. Matthew, I want to come to you. Tell us about your top takeaways. You went there, met with a lot of people, a lot of things. What did you take away?
Yeah, I went there. My focus was on social media. So like Laura said, but I have a big process behind that. And so I went to a lot of social media classes. I combined all my notes. I put them in, I recorded them. I put them through Otter AI. I've got a social media playbook I put together, or I put it together. I clicked the button and the button put it together. But that's a bigger process, right? I'm not just going to start something posting tomorrow, right? I want to make sure I have a thoughtful process. So that's the bigger scale that I took away. The things that stuck out to me is exactly what we were just talking about. That was one of my big highlights is, last year was one of the worst years in real estate in the last 30 years, but it's also one of the top 3 best years in real estate in the last 30 years. And it just depends on how you look at it. And I'm not a Pollyanna, right? I'm a positive, optimistic person, but I recognize bad things happen. I also don't dwell on them. And so if you want to look at that you look at that one of two ways. Like, did I suffer last year, or did I have a really, really good year? And both things can be true. And so just choose happiness, choose love, choose which way you want to go. Because if you choose the other way, you're on your way out of the business, in my mind, if that's all you focused on. And so just, again, recognize that we're at the modern day floor. And again, bold words, right? But they can always change. But the reality is, the statistics bear it out, right? We've seen how many deaths and births and marriages and divorces have happened that generates 4.1 million sales, even in a tough economic cycle for real estate. I'm okay with 8.2 million sides, right? Like, I can get my share of that. So that was a big takeaway. Rory Baden talked about return on time invested, and I love that he said you can actually measure return on time invested, because in my head I've always known, like, I've known you can, but I didn't actually pursue the formula to figure out that you can acknowledge, here's what this cost me, this 5-minute task every day. Like, I am better off spending 2 hours to teach somebody how to do this right now, and my ROTI on that is going to be through the roof in the future, and it will generate more time. So especially as the team continues to grow and expand, I took that to heart deeply. And then the other big takeaway was, from the 10 bold truths, is that we fail our way to success, right? And that there's a world of difference between fear of failure and fear of failing, and that fear of failure is what drives us forward and keeps us moving and pushes us. But it's fear of failing that stops us from ever starting, because we're afraid to get started, that we might fail. And so in my head, I hadn't drawn that distinction. And that stuck with me a lot. Is are we afraid of failure, or are we afraid of failing? 2 totally different things.
Man, I love that. Those are huge. And notice that that's not really a business specific thing. That's an internal thing. Happy versus hustle. The happiness comes first, and the hustle often follows. You have to choose to be happy, right? I loved what Rory Baden shared as well. And he put a slide up, and it says 80% done right by someone else is always better than 100% done right by you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can put some guardrails on it, and you give the direction, and you can do the final edit just to make sure, but that doesn't mean you need to do that 80% in the middle. And to think that you're the only one that can do that well, I mean, that kind of says something. I have an ego. It's not in real estate, it's somewhere else, but you're right. You're not the only person that's good at this thing, right? Somebody else can do that probably better than you. You just have to get out of your own way and let go a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. Ego, what do they say? It's eliminating growth opportunities. Yeah, get your ego out of the way and find those growth opportunities. Cameron, what were your top 3 takeaways from Family Reunion this year?
I like that with the ego thing. I've never heard that before. I had a couple similarities with the focus. So first one was in the social media category. I don't know how many people that are on the call have been apprehensive about social media stuff. I found it difficult to find my world within commercial and investment. Like nobody really explained it well. Like, oh yeah, you're going to get more opportunities if you're posting selfie videos of me and posting it to Instagram. Like I haven't been, like I think very methodically about stuff, and it hasn't been explained to me in a way that I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I can do that. But I feel like there were a couple that I went to. I don't remember what they were. But I have consolidated all my social media notes like the other panelists did. And I think that there's a way to do it and do like one video a week, which I think is totally doable, and to post through channels that make sense for commercial real estate and investment, like LinkedIn and maybe YouTube stuff. So um, I'm a lot more convinced. We'll put it that way. And then the other category is I am like the other panelists here as well, very highly referral based in what I do. I have referral partners that are out of state, other commercial brokers, lots of residential referral partners, and most of my clients that I actively work with, I've received through referrals. So I've learned a lot through that process, and I wanted to take even more from Family Reunion this year and to hone in on a couple process refinements, because not every referral is equal. And especially in the commercial world, like a warm referral is a huge deal versus just a commercial lead. Um, so one example of that is what I was talking about earlier. So like that in the family office world, like ultra high net worth individuals, that $50 million mark, I'm trying to make that like more accessible. Like I feel like everyone on this call knows more people that are in the $10 million mark than you think. And I just did the math on like the adults in the United States. And roughly 1 in 60 people, adults in the US, fall into that like roughly $10 million and up category, versus if you were stuck in this, like putting people on a pedestal that have 50 million, that's one in almost 1,400. So there's a very big difference in the accessibility of those two numbers. And so that was a big thing for me, is trying to encourage, my referral partners, all of you on the call, that more people in that category than you think, and they're active. They're always active. They qualify as like the always active buyers, right? They maybe their requirements might change each year depending on what their life events are and if they've got exchanges and things like that. But more people than you think.
Yeah, and high net worth individuals, if they're not active, they should be active, right? They should be out getting their unfair share and building their wealth exponentially and mitigating their tax liabilities and all the benefits that come with real estate investments. And so, much like Cameron said, if 1 in 60 human beings, adult human beings, have a high net worth, look in your database. How many people are in that category? Because statistically, you have them. Now, are you communicating with them in a manner that means something to them? Are you talking about their real estate investment goals, their tax mitigation, what they plan to do for their future? If you're not, you probably should consider asking. Don't be a secret agent, right? Engage in the conversation around real estate, their wealth, their portfolios. Good things happen, right, Cameron?
I like that.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Laura, we've got about 8 minutes left. What's the one thing that you learned that you either have already implemented or plan to implement this year?
Oh, well, I just gave you some that I already did, but probably the one thing I was talking about, or I was thinking of, he said that 44% of homeowners have mortgages that are 4% or less. And so I was thinking about that. I was like, and that, reduces their motivation to sell. But then I thought to myself, oh, well, that really means 66% people have mortgages that are paid free and clear or higher than 4%. Like, that would be the easier way for us to go to find people that are looking to sell and more motivated to sell. And what can I do to access those people? They have statistics, like you could go on the Ticor or whatever escrow company, you could see which properties are over 4% or who are free and clear? And what can we do specifically to step out to market to those folks or to reach out to those folks to see if they have any real estate needs? If the other people are going to drag their feet or wait for a life change in order to make a move, that may be the lower hanging fruit for us. So there's my one thing.
I love it. Finding the 66%, the glass is half full versus half empty.
Yes,
mindset.
that's correct.
Aubrey, what about you? What's your one thing that you're planning to take away or implement in your business?
I literally texted my lender partner and my insurance partner who I do the class, my buyer's class with. We do a monthly buyer's class right at like during the panel, which is probably a no-no, but I did it. And I said, we need to switch to the library. And we already have that on the books. So like we've been so like hemming and hawing about these buyers classes because after a time they just get kind of like stale. I've been doing them for 7 years and the seller ones I do every quarter. But you know, like how to kind of infuse some enthusiasm in them again, like from my side of things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, to be back in person, so sick of Zoom, and then do it at a place that is not only nonprofit, so it seems less scary for people, but also looks like it's being put on by the library. So smart. So already implemented and done and seen.
It's essentially sponsored by your county or your community by going to the library.
It's like and we were just at the point of like, do I even really want to do these anymore? Like seriously, like, because it's all people that I know that are sort of in that category B or C of like people that they're pre-approved, they're not pre-approved, they haven't like done anything. And so the reason we created the buyer classes is because I don't really want to talk to people that are not pre-approved, frankly. I really don't. And so this way, what we do is all of those people that have been like hemming and hawing and should I or shouldn't I, or will they or won't they? I put them all in one place, which is the buyer's class. And we have good attendance, but they're like, I just have found them kind of flat and boring. So that's the thing. In person, we're going to try it again in a different kind of venue and then see how it goes.
Yeah, I love it. Great job. Matthew, what about you? What's your one thing?
Get over myself. I mean, really, with social media, right? This is what I look like. This is what I sound like. And if you guys don't like that, you're going to see more of it. So unfollow me if you follow me on social media, because I'm passing up this evergreen free lead generation source if I provide value. If I provide the right value, it's evergreen and it's free. And I've got no problem looking into some new, I can host a new event and it'll cost me X dollars. Why am I not doing social media for free? It's ridiculous. So I just got to get over myself and do it. So,
so mark your calendars, everybody. This time next year, Matthew will be YouTube star.
I'm basically gonna be a content creator who sells real estate. No, but we got to get out there. Like, this is who we are. So just be okay with it and provide your value to as many people as you can.
That's absolutely right. All right, Cameron, you're up, boss.
Ditto.
Ditto.
But in my own way, to Matthew's point, I think that just doing something that's simple and authentic goes a long way. I'm bought into that idea. So
I love it. I love it. And I love all of you. You guys are absolutely incredible. You're inspiring to all get up, and you guys just pour in so much to our communities. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have a few minutes left. If anybody wants to ask these amazing people some questions or share your ahas or takeaways from today, it always means a lot to us as we get to speak. We love to hear that you're listening and learning as well, and we're able to impact your lives and businesses also. So if you want to throw it in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and say hi, that'd be awesome.
Aaron, we want to hear your one takeaway.
My one takeaway?
Yes. Yeah, we want to hear yours.
agreed.
My goodness. I think one of the biggest things that I took away is just a reminder. And, some of these events are all about just being reminded of simplicity, simple things that cause us to succeed. And the reminder that I got was time on task over time beats talent every time. Mm-hmm. Time on task over time beats talent every time. And I think that just translates into so many walks in our life along our journey. I think Matthew, Cameron, on the social media side, time on task over time beats talent. You don't have to be the smartest person at that or the best at it. You just got to do it and be consistent and show up and play the game. And you do it long enough, most people won't. They bail out, they tap out really, really fast. So I feel like that's probably one of my biggest takeaways. So thanks for putting me on the spot. I didn't plan on that.
Does anybody have any questions?
Throw a
Well,
couple ahas in the chat.
yeah. Or ahas. Anybody have an aha they want to share? I see an awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you all 5 of you for your time today and for such a great hour conversation and the great takeaways. It was super helpful. And we're proud of you for representing our state at the highest KW level possible and for bringing it back home to us. Thank you so much. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.